Now let us look at the properties of most of the special quadrilaterals using this table. The quadrilaterals we will cover include parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, and a square. We will understand if their opposite sides are equal or parallel or both. We will see if their opposite angles are equal, and most importantly, we will analyze their diagonals. We will see if they are perpendicular, equal, or whether they bisect each other. Previously, we have learned that the opposite sides of a parallelogram are equal and parallel. The opposite angles of a parallelogram are also equal, and the diagonals bisect each other. But are the diagonals perpendicular or equal? No, the diagonals are not perpendicular and are unequal. Understanding the first row will give you an idea about many cells of this table. Now here's what we already know. Rectangle, rhombus, and square are all special cases of a parallelogram. This means that all properties that are satisfied for a parallelogram will definitely be satisfied for these three quadrilaterals. So wherever we see a check mark for a parallelogram, we make a check mark for the other three quadrilaterals. 4 check marks for a rectangle, 4 check marks for a rhombus, and 4 check marks for a square. But remember a very important thing. The properties that are not valid for a parallelogram may or may not be valid for these three quadrilaterals. What about these two cases for a rectangle? We have seen that the diagonals of a rectangle are always equal, but they are not perpendicular to each other. Now what can we say about these two properties of a rhombus? We have seen that the diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular to each other, but are not equal. Now here's something more interesting. What about these two properties of a square? Think about it. A square is a special case of a rectangle. It means that all properties that are satisfied for a rectangle will be satisfied for a square too. The diagonals of a rectangle are equal, which is why the diagonals of a square will be equal. And yes, a square is also a special case of a rhombus. And that's why its diagonals will also be perpendicular.